Hello once again. This is Jason with H&S GAMES. How's everybody doing? Hope you're doing well. Thought I'd give you guys a rare glimpse into the design and development of the newest project here at H&S GAMES. And what I'd like to do is have you, if you would, follow along by watching, because this isn't just going to be an audio alone, but it will be supplemented with images that will help describe what I'm talking about. So, first image, we'll get right to it. This is the tentative, and I mean tentative, cover of what will be our next game. This is not a Platoon Leader game. It is not a Platoon Leader expansion. This is its own separate thing. And if you see the title there, Ostfront, that would let you know that this is in fact dealing with the Eastern Front, something that has yet to be tackled. And another squad level uh, conflict game. And before you go running screaming about how the market is currently flooded with squad level tactical games, stick around, hear me out. You might find something interesting in what you hear. But that's the tentative cover of the game, subject to change, as is everything you hear and see. Subject to change. In fact, most likely will change. And I'll admit, I'm not just doing this out of the kindness of my heart. I thought it would be interesting as well for myself to see how things change and evolve as this thing moves along, and when the end result is arrived at, it'd be nice to compare the end result to where we are here right now. Anyway, that's the cover, and that brings us to the rule book. And this would be the cover of the rule book, and if you notice the theme, uh, it would be a highly German biased theme. I'm not going to apologize for that, and there's a particular reason for it. This game is from the perspective or point of view, if you will, of the Germans as they move into Russia in 1941. So I figure I'd give it a German slant. Nothing political intended here for all you dramatic people out there. Just a game. Let's cover the rule book. That brings us to the table of contents. Now I don't know that you can read this very well, but I will describe what you're looking at. Basically, you have your introduction, description of game equipment, including game cards, charts, counter sheets, dry erase pen, sheet protectors. Why a sheet protector, you might ask? Well, basically because it's going to be a lot easier to put what is called the viewfinder or sleeve in a sheet protector and take a dry erase pen and mark needed information directly on the viewfinder, erase it, change it, mark again without any problem. A lot of note taking is required for this thing. What else? That brings us to dice. We're still deciding on dice, and the reason for that is we currently have a combat results table worked into this thing. Don't know that this will end with a combat results table. If it does, won't be too many dice. Just a couple of D6s, a couple of D10s. If the combat results table is ousted, you're going to end up with a ton of D6, ton of D10s, maybe even a D8. Not sure yet. We'll see how it goes. What else? Sequence of play, combat calendar check, briefing, prepare for battle, area covered sequence, battle round sequence, under attack, and debriefing. Now let me go through those just briefly. I'm not going to get into it too in depth here, as again things are subject to change. So, but the combat calendar check is basically going to consist of rolling on what is called an area covered track. An area covered track is an abstract way of representing kilometers covered as you move through Russia in the campaign game. And depending on dice rolls and the number of kilometers covered, will coincide with the end of the current month. And of course, the month begins with June, July, ends with, I believe, December. Uh, but that'll help you move along the month track. So there's two tracks right there. Your briefing. For your briefing, you're going to basically consult a weather chart, see what it's like outside, and record that on your viewfinder. What else? Prepare for battle. Determine your platoon's deployment from the deployment chart. And what's going to happen is when you deploy on the reel or a map that goes in the sleeve or viewfinder, you're going to deploy in the center of this hexagonal map. And the deployment can be, I believe we have it, where you can be moving, stopped, or assault moving, which will help determine how easy you are to shoot at when things kick off. Area covered sequence, I believe I already covered that. What else? Your operations phase. You can call for artillery or airstrikes, so bring those Stukas in as needed if you can successfully radio them. Takes longer for airstrikes to arrive than does artillery, so the die roll will reflect that. Artillery is easier to call for, arrives quicker, but airstrikes are more precise. What else? Enter the area by marking the appropriate number of the area covered track. We won't get into that right at this moment. Let's see, we got, you're going to consult a resistance chart for a possible combat. And if the current number of the area covered track was not checked for resistance when you first entered, you're going to determine the area's resistance and then check for battle. So what's going on here, basically, if I can gloss over, you've got an expected level of enemy resistance depending on a number of things. A, type of battle. There's three types of battle that can occur within this thing. You can be engaged in an advance scenario, a pitched battle scenario, or a counterattack scenario. Based on which of those you are involved in and the month of the year, because the various levels of resistance will fluctuate de- depending on the time of year, will determine if the enemy resistance that you run into is light, medium, or heavy. Now, light enemy resistance is going to consist of a couple of squads. Medium will be about 3, and heavy will be roughly 4 squads. So at the beginning of the game, you will deploy with 3 squads and a leader. That's it. And again, depending on what you roll, you can either meet some light resistance or heavy resistance. Um, what else we have here? Bear with me as I roll through this. Battle. Battle is interesting to say the least. When you run into a certain number of squads, you're going to deploy them on the reel according to a number of die rolls, and if you can direct your vision, avert your eyes towards the viewfinder. This is the way the it's not going to look exactly like this, but this for now is the way it will arrive in game. You've got a hex template there in the middle, surrounded by various tracks and things that need to be kept track of. You're going to deploy each time, each engagement, you will deploy in the center here, not on this particular hexagonal grid. This is simply a hexagonal template, but you're going to deploy in the center at the beginning of an engagement, and then roll for depending on the expected level of enemy resistance, deploy your enemy units, and this will be determined by die rolls that coincide with, if you'll notice, there is an inner, a mid, and an outer. These are circular that circumambulate the center hex, the inner ring, if you will, followed by the mid ring and the outer ring. Um, Based on die rolls, we'll determine which ring they're deployed on, and then if you'll notice the elongated lines that bisect certain hexes within these hexes, these elongated lines, if you will, are hexes, and these consist of sectors. So a ring, a particular ring within a sector is a zone, and then uh, the hexes within the elongated lines are each sectors. I don't expect that to make a whole lot of sense, but as you play it and get familiar with it, it will make perfect sense. Trust me. But this is just a newfangled, or should I say, another way of allowing you to deploy enemy units as they appear, and it's quite effective. And anybody that's played Patton's Best may recognize this hexagonal grid. It is very similar to Patton's Best, and in fact, I mentioned already that this game started out as a Patton's Best inspired thing, and wanted to put infantry in place of a tank, and it ended up being not only infantry but the Eastern Front. So it's something very much different than Patton's Best. Don't think that it's just a knockoff. But admittedly, it is inspired by Patton's Best. So all the stuff on this surrounding the hexagonal grid is, if we can cut to the next image, all that stuff is the tracks and things. You'll notice the Soviet action point track and the German action point track. Based on various factors, obviously the Soviets can have more action points because they will oftentimes have more units on map than the German units, who only ever have a maximum of 3 squads on map. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, only 3 German squads, maximum ever. Look at this little hexagonal grid. Okay, well, I talk about this already. I'm trying to come up with some designer notes as I go. And it looks confined. It looks like a cage match. It looks like a little bitty area, but trust me, the area that is depicted here from farthest hext to farthest hext is roughly, I think I came up with 2.5 football fields. So plenty of room for battle, and in fact, um, Russian machine gun, if it was to fire from end to end, would just make it. So if it was any bigger, Russian light machine gun wouldn't make it across. So it may look small, but it is, in my opinion, just right for a small battle. And again, the depictions of battle that occur as you move across Russia are going to look like this. It's not going to be full-scale blowout battles. Remember, you're a single platoon moving through, and you're dealing with your particular area as you do so. Now, if I could direct your attention to the off-map sector control markers, I think I have one um, squared up in red on the top. You'll notice 3 stars towards the top of the hexagonal grid template, 3 German ones towards the bottom. This represents off-map support and a nation's control of each of these can change as the game goes on. So um, represents supporting armor, whatever your imagination will allow you to depict. But that's that. And then you have artillery, air support reminder, your battle types, again, ABC, advance, battle or counterattack scenario, expected enemy resistance. You're going to mark light, medium, or heavy, depending on what it is. Deployment, this is probably going to change, but as of now, you can be deployed at the start of an engagement, an assault movement or non-assault movement. Your monthly time track, of course, which is determined by your area covered track. And then your sudden death track, so each engagement, at least for now, the length of an engagement or a particular battle will be determined by die rolls as you work your way down the track, uh, disallowing you from knowing exactly when a particular engagement will end, and your weather track, of course. So a lot of stuff going on what we are calling your viewfinder. I guess you can call it a sleeve. What you're going to do when you get this thing is cut this hexagonal template out. And it sounds horrid and awful, but that's what you're going to do. You're going to cut it out and use that as a guide, again, to place enemy units. But what you're really going to do with this thing is have actual, what we call reels, and these are the maps that the battle will take place on. You're going to slide, depending on what month it is, or even by weather. We have winter maps that will slide in here, and not sure how many we will have yet, but a number of them, all different, on which battles take place as you move through Russia. So that's that. Bringing us back to, where did I leave off? Battle. Um, Let's see, battle. Basically, what you're going to do is roll a number of dice, depending on how many units are on map, to see how many action points you get. And this might sound familiar if you've played Platoon Leader. Big fan of this mechanic. It's in here as well, but it's tweaked a little bit. So, depending on how many action points you have, each unit is allowed to expend up to 2. Leaders do not have to spend action points. They are allowed to free actions, and interestingly enough, the way the command and control is worked into this thing, if you are within 2 hexes of your leader, you can borrow his action. That is to say, he can forfeit an action and lend it to an in-command squad. So up to 2 action points can be expended. Sometimes you won't have enough action points uh, for a squad to expend. He may only be able to expend 1 action point, depending on how many action points you rolled. But the actions that take place, the number of things that you can do, there's various types of fire. You can fire at full strength for 2 action points, or you can snap fire at half fire strength for 1 action point. So basically, if you snap fire, you can fire at half fire strength at one target hex, and snap fire again at half strength at a completely different target hex. So that should make for some interesting flavor there. Um, Movement, there's various types of movement as well. You can move up to your full movement allotment for 2 action points, or you can assault move up to half of your movement allotment for 1 action point. So what in theory you could do if you have enough action points as a squad is snap fire and then assault move, or assault move then snap fire, etc., etc. 2 action points to rally a broken squad. Routing is free, does not require an action point to do so. What else do we have here? That's pretty much action points, and I'm again leaving a lot out. I'm basically trying to gloss over what you're looking at here. Can't cover everything, of course. Um, that's going to bring us to debriefing. You're going to record any victory points, casualties. Your leader can be wounded or killed. If your leader's killed, that means you failed in the campaign. Promotions, keep track of stuff for promotions because your leader can promote, and etc. So, what else do we have? Using the viewfinder, I already went into that, so we'll skip over that. But there's a lot of rules regarding that. The sold book, I have what is considered, well, what we're calling a sold book. And let me back up for a second, real quick, and say that the next picture that you will see is a playtest picture of what the viewfinder with a reel placed inside of it will look like. That is currently a winterized map that you are looking at. Again, just a playtest map. This is not an official end result product. Doubt we even use this map, but this is a playtest version of what we call the viewfinder, and that little map is called a reel that is placed inside, and you can switch these out as you go from battle to battle. So that is that, which brings us to the sold book. Sorry about that. The sold book is basically a diary, if you will. There's a picture of the sold book. A diary that depicts your leader as well as your squads, but I'll show a picture of it. There's your leader and um, possible victory points, decorations that can be received based on victory points accumulated, as well as promotions, etc. So for now, at least, that's what your sold book looks like. So again, subject to change, most likely will, but got to start somewhere. And then cover some more rules. How to win. Um, There's no point in playing this thing if you don't know how to win. And that's going to consist of, again, victory points, staying alive as a leader. You're going to take losses when it comes to squads. You're going to get replacements. It's inevitable. But if you as a leader can survive, and even if you get wounded enough where you're knocked out for a number of weeks or whatever, you can come back and finish. So um, all is not lost. Unit counters. Let me go into this a different way with the unit counters and just describe briefly how we go about this. The program that is used to develop all the graphic design stuff is IfRanView, and trust me, don't go running looking for IfRanView to use or download. It's terrible. I don't recommend it. It's free. The only reason it's used is because it's easy to learn, um, easy to use, but you're limited to what you can do. You really have to become quite adept at using it to do the things that you will need to do. If you already know Photoshop or leaning towards it, don't let me intervene. Uh, by all means, do Photoshop. I wish personally I knew how to use Photoshop. Don't yet. I do a couple of things on it, but definitely am not able to navigate through Photoshop. I would become lost immediately. But the next image that you will see is an example of the rule book. Again, I'm digressing, but bear with me. An example of the rule book, and if you notice the images, we've got just an example of what the artwork upon each heading will look like, and it's photos from actual history, but the photos are tweaked enough to look different. So if I can give an example of that, here's a photo of some Germans rolling through some wheat fields, and based on what we were doing for the rule book, we will take that and turn it into that. And it might look like a mess to some of you, but it gives it kind of a individual, I don't know, particular look that it just feels right for what we're doing with this rule book. So that's what we're doing. And back to the unit counters. I'm all over the map here. I apologize. But the unit counters, you're going to take something graphically that looks like that, and then you're going to take it until it looks something like that. And then when you get that, what we've done is, let's see, turn it into something like that. So if you look in the foreground is the same German, in the background is also the same German. Looks like two Germans though. And that is the typical German squad. So that's how we worked that. And we also have did the same thing with the Russian squads, which I'll hold off on showing you at this point. But basically, yeah, the same thing. Find an image that looks right, that works. The Russians have the tan or dark brown background. The leaders for both of these sides look great. Spent a lot of time on images and graphics regarding these counters. Didn't rush through it. Happy with where it's going. Still not done. But all the informational markers, which I'll refrain from showing you at this point, but they're all looking good as well. Got some scary skull and crossbones for strength losses, and as you take hits, you deduct strength losses with these markers, and this in turn affects your quality of fire. But that said, that's your unit counters in a nutshell. Nothing too fancy or overly complicated there. Platoon actions I already went into briefly. Fire again. Not sure if we're going to keep the combat results table system or do another platoon leader-esque buckets of dice style combat system. But more or less, we have two systems in play as we speak, and I guess playtesting will decide who wins. Reaction fires in here, gotta have that. Was also in Platoon Leader for those of you that have played that. You gotta have it. I mean, you can't just sit idly by while another side does something and it's almost like they're getting a free move. It's wouldn't happen realistically, so it shouldn't happen in a simulation. What else? Assaults covered. Still got a lot of work to do there. Support weapons. We've got some new stuff here that wasn't in, and I don't mean to compare this to Platoon Leader, but that was our last big blowout game. You got your machine guns, but you also got mortars, demolition charges, flamethrowers, radios, and again, a lot of you could probably take or leave the counter art, but I'm telling you that really happy with the way stuff's turning out with these counters. Couldn't be happier. Again, still work to be done, but a great direction in which we're headed. Very confident there. Description of movement, and then enemy units, which we'll deal with how to work the enemy units, not just placement of them, which is important, but also the AI in this thing uh, is very intense. How do I describe this? Um, God, I hate to use another horrible analogy, but for those of you that have played Platoon Leader, it's great for what it is. It's more of a beer and pretzels thing. The AI in there is like wiffle ball. The AI in here is going to be like Major League Baseball. You're going to roll to see if you move, where you move, if you fire, who you fire at, etc. It's all in here, and it's all uh, about. It's done as much as you can do without creating complete automatons. But the AI in here is such that it's thick. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's thick in a good way. Um, so enemy action rules will deal with that. Friendly action again, based on random events, more or less, will determine friendly action, and basically that represents your area control markers that circumambulate the hexagonal template. Will help determine what sectors are affected by friendly action. Random events, this stuff's pretty cool. Very happy about this. At the end of each round in an engagement, you're going to roll in the random events chart, and you're going to get various random events. Everything from sniper to friendly artillery, flanking fire, um, friendly advance, enemy reinforcements, which the few times that we have messed around with this thing, enemy reinforcements are a real drag. It just really puts a damper on everything. Enemy advance, among other things, and we're still working on some of the other stuff as far as random event spotting. Here's another idiosyncrasy particular to this game. Now, a lot of games, if not all of them, assume that other than line of sight, when stuff is placed on the map, you know it's there. So, for some reason, a lot of games assume that you have an automatic awareness. There is an enemy behind a house, hidden within a hedge. This game doesn't assume that. You're going to have to, through awareness determination, uh, roll to see if you are in fact of aware of enemy troops and who you are aware of, which will in turn decide who you can shoot at. Very happy with that. Adds a bit of realism there. Got your smoke that you deal with, casualties, and then it goes into the campaign game. And you can play this as a single engagement or a couple of scenarios, say a month or two. But really, the campaign game is what you want, and this is going to allow you to uh, get promotions as a leader, all kinds of cool stuff, decorations, awards. Uh, it's where it's at. The campaign game is what you want. Artillery support, go into that. Your airstrikes, replacements for troops that are lost. Brings us to your promotions and decorations that you can earn or win. And then a brief description that will get you into an introductory engagement. The introductory engagement is trimmed of a lot of stuff that is not necessarily needed for your first play. This stuff can be added later. It's a way to allow you to jump right in and play without having to learn every single thing. So that's important. And then your optional rules. I mean, what's a game without optional rules, right? So we've got night rules, something called a platoon morale check, among other things. And finally, your designer notes, which we've already started working on and will continue to work on as this thing is developed. So that brings us to, and I'm not going to have pictures of these, but there's the combat results table, which is heavily inspired, admittedly, by the advanced Tobruk system. And, you know, I've been a stranger to the advanced Tobruk system for some time. I've finally ordered the latest version of the rules and found some interesting stuff. So, if the combat results table system is kept within this thing, it's going to be very similar to the advanced Tobruk uh, system combat results table. Not the same. It is different, but we took the inspiration for ours from that. So there's an admission. Let's see what else. Viewfinder, which we already went into, and then charts, charts, charts. Like I said, I'm not going to have any picture of these as such, but we do have them in that wonderful German field green background color with white print. Your viewfinder slash real placement charts for enemy placement. A spotting chart. What else do we have here? Your German leader generation chart, as well as support weapon and squad generation chart. So if you're not going to start the campaign game at the lowest rung and work your way up, you can conduct random rolls to see what you get for a one-off game or a scenario. Same with the Russians. A resistance chart to see the expected level of resistance, light, medium, heavy, as I already described. A deployment chart to determine the nature of your deployment at the beginning of an engagement. Weather chart, of course, and you've got everything from rain to mud to fog to snow to falling snow. It's all in here, and it all affects what you can see, what you can shoot at. What else do we have? A leader wound chart, friendly action chart, and then your enemy action charts, depending on what scenario you're playing. And die rolls will determine what an enemy does, and that can be everything from moving forward, backward, left, right, firing, doing nothing, assaulting, all dealt with. Enemy artillery is in here as well. Your random events chart, scenario chart to determine based on what month it is, what type of battle. So it could be again advanced pitched battle or counterattack. Expected enemy strength chart. What else do we have here? Action point determination. So if you have 4 on-map squads, you're going to roll 1d8, and the resulting number will be the number of action points you have to work with that particular round. I already spoke of the Russian leader, support weapon, and squad generation chart, as well as partisan units and commissars. Um, and then, of course, the sold book with you as the leader and your squads, where various information is kept and notes are taken. Keep track of your victory points, your awards, and your promotions. And that pretty much sums up what you can expect, at least at this point. Now, all of this stuff has to be further developed, fine-tuned, polished, but it is a rough, rough, rough outline of what will prove to be the next game. And I repeat, this is not a platoon leader game. It is not a platoon leader expansion. It's its own beast. It's different. It's thicker. It's deeper. What else? When will it be released? I hate to even hazard a guess. If I was, if somebody held a gun to my head and told me, "Hey, when is this thing coming out?" Maybe Christmas, but it's just so hard to say at this point. So early in the development and design of everything, and that's not to mention that playtesting, which we are not going to rush, which we are going to do vigorously. Hasn't even started. And in fact, regarding playtesting, we're considering tossing this thing out there for you guys to take a whack at. More on that as it develops if we decide to do so. But that will be a good thing for not only you but for us. We need to get this thing run through the ringer. We need you sharks out there to take some bites out of it, see if you can break it, and play balance, etc. Adjust accordingly. So this thing will be a fun, fair fight. So that's Ostfront and a glimpse into the design development world of H&S Games here. Um, Hope you guys found that interesting, and I hope you guys look forward to it. We definitely look forward to the end result. But again, we're not going to rush this thing. We're taking our time to make sure this thing's done right. There's a lot of stuff that we've packed in here, and we need all the gears and wheels to jive with one another in an efficient way. So until that happens, this thing ain't going anywhere. But again, wanted to give you a glimpse into the design development world here at H&S Games, and hope you enjoyed that. So next time I talk to you, not sure when that will be or what it'll be about. Perhaps another update on Ostfront, but that's it for now. So thanks for watching and listening, and keep gaming.